So I'm sitting down with Tom Keneally, who's come in to sign copies of his new book, which is the latest volume in his history of the Australians. Welcome to Shearer's, Tom. Can you tell us about your new book?
Well, it's like the first one in that it attempts to tell the story of Australia through women and men whose lives illustrate a major contour of our social history, whether those women or men be Aboriginal or from the European settler community or from Asia. And it therefore allows me to give an intimate and, I hope, dramatic form to the telling of Australian history, even when I talk about figures we know about. Such as, say, Henry Parkes. I try to introduce a new dimension, sort of dimension that makes the intelligent reader think, boy, I never knew this. This makes him more than a figure on a plinth. In Volume 2, there's a lot about two wars. First, the frontier war against the Aboriginals, which was very ruthless, and of course, since it goes up to 1920, World War I, and very much again from an obscurer men and women perspective. I have a great interest in World War I nurses, for example, and in the wounded and those who tend to the wounded. There's been a great deal of great writing about World War I, and so I thought the way to look at it in a new manner is not only through obscure soldiers, but through the output of the war in terms of disease and wounds, both physical and psychic. And so there, as in all other areas, I try to take a novel view of Australian history. Whether that always succeeds, I don't know. I try also to look at it from the point of view of writers such as Adam Lindsay Gordon and Jean Cameron, later Dame Mary Gilmore, and from the point of view of painters also, including a painter I like a lot called Iso Ray, R-A-E, who was stuck in France during the war and who did some splendid work there while working, while working as a volunteer. If you look at these events through obscure people or through unexpected people, then you get a whole new excitement out of what happened in the past.
Excellent. And I just wanted to ask, with a project like this where you're working on a multi-volume history, how far ahead do you have to plan? Do you have an idea of the entire thing from the beginning, or does it sort of grow in the writing?
Well, this book was going to go till 1942, so I've written up to 1942, and I think Volume 3, which will go from 1942, it will either end with the Aboriginal referendum of 1967 or with the first 100 days of Gough Whitlam. I haven't finally decided yet. Maybe I'm tempted to make it up to 1972, that extraordinary first 100 days that I remember well. The only trouble is that might make the book too big. Going up to 1942 was too big, and so they cut this Volume 2 back to 1920. 1920 is very important because class divisions began to become even more bitter in Australia post-war. Right-wing private armies began to be formed with the encouragement of politicians. The Wobblies, the industrial workers of the world, were rampaging on the scene on the left, and there was imminent expectation of a Bolshevik revolution in Australia. And so on top of that, Billy Hughes was arguing that we should have a screen of islands given to us in the Pacific on the basis of the contribution we'd made to the war. And this screen was designed and motivated in part to maintain white Australia. So 1920 is a credible ending date for this volume.
Excellent. Well, Tom, good luck with Volume 2 and good luck with your work on Volume 3.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for coming in and spending some time with us today.
Not at all.